the names of who's already in.
Yeah, on the 11th of December we have, I'll just go from the top, the latest one, Martin Boyd, hi Martin, Chris Fisher, Ginger's Giraffes, Wolf Pit, Eddie Wolfies, Max McLachlan, Alfred Ferrer, Brian Taylor, Max McLachlan, there we go, sorry, just somebody silenced the YouTube channel coming online. Eddie Wolfie, Chris Fisher got him again. Stuart Laird, Margaret Noakes.
That's Facebook started it.
Yeah.
Doug, Ewan,
John Wardrop, Sandra.
Aki's, thanks for the super chat. And you're all right, Aki's. The naughty steps went on holiday for a few weeks to be replaced by Santa and his naughty elf. So you're all right to burn your arse on it when you go to sit in a naughty shelf.
Duncan McKellar. And Aki's married to you. Who else? Rebecca McDougall, Regan Light, Joseph McCreath, Alistair Kilpatrick. Ones that we haven't done yet. Alistair Kerr.
Hi, first of the Facebookers are in. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Doug. The naughty steps went on holiday, but it's no way. If you annoy us, you get flashed.
That means I'll get flashed all the time.
I get flashed all the time, Madam Director, you know.
No, don't even go there, alright?
Half the audience knows about it. At least the Facebook audience knows about it. The YouTube audience might know that in the days when I used to do it on Facebook alone for my office here, Madam Director used to try and put me off by flashing at me.
Right, anyway, when we got in the door?
Right,
how many have we got in the door?
Oh, we're only at 96. Got to keep waffling for a few minutes.
Okay, waffle. We
should at the very end of the day have some money out to the first of the baby banks. By the end of the week, we should have it all out. Yep. Okay, by Thursday, we should have it all out. But we'll give you more details on Thursday, folks.
Yeah, at the moment, just to let you all know, we have got in the Two Davies bank account. You just open it. That's £830.73.
Wonderful.
Okay.
We'll get it out. We'll get it out the door over the next couple of days. We've already made contact with a few baby banks, and we'll get it out the door.
Yep.
Right, we're up over 100 mark, David. So this is the Two Davies and the 11th to the 12th, 2023. Should we get this broadcast underway?
UNCRC.
Yes, it's the United Nations Charter on the Rights of the Child, and amended Scottish Bill, and to incorporate such the Charter into Scots law, passed the Parliament on Thursday.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, this is the law that was vetoed by Westminster because they took us to the Supreme Court because they didn't want to have to take our children into consideration when legislating UK-wide.
If you do look up the UNCRC, it does say in one of the paragraphs that if you are part of a public body making a decision on a child, even though your country may not have ratified or incorporated the UNCRC into your country's law, you still have to give due regard to the wording of the UNCRC. That's what the UN says, all right? So, in actual fact, I've got to say to any public body that was doing that, that's just bloody common sense. Of course it is.
That's why the Supreme Court's ruling was an absolute outrage. The biggest public body on these islands, Westminster, doesn't have to take our children into consideration while legislating. But that's not just our children, that's children in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. They don't have to take them into consideration whatsoever while legislating. Now, this piece of legislation, if it passes, David, as you say, It will make them legally obliged to take into consideration the rights of the child and under whatever provision of the decisions they're making. Okay. Now, what's in it? What's in it? Life, survival, and development. That covers the right to life, the right to food, the right to shelter, the right to a safe place to grow up. Right. Protection from exploitation and violence. That's, of course, from public bodies got to protect you from exploitation and violence. An education that enables children to fulfil their potential. Well, that sort of makes sense.
That also covers bullying at school.
Yep.
If you imagine, now it means that in proper legislation that the schools have to stop any form of bullying happen because the kids are entitled to a safe place wherever they are, not just at home.
Number 4 is be raised or have a relationship with a parent's family. That's the right to family life. Yes. Number 5, children are to be allowed to express their opinion and to be listened to, and of course the right to play, which is very important to their development.
The right to play actually is conversant with those terms.
Yes.
You know, you talk about my right to play. I have a right to play regarding a UN charter, and therefore I'm going to be allowed free speech. I'm going to be allowed to say what I need to say. Simple as that. That's the right to play, believe it or not. So,
yeah, that's expressing yourself. The right to play as well is in there, right? Okay. And as we've just discussed, this applies to public bodies. Now, could Westminster put another spanner in the works? Of course they could. How long have they got, David?
They've got until January the 4th, I believe, to mount another challenge. But to be honest with you, see, when you look at the UK government, when they're defending Israel's right to bomb the people in Gaza back to the Stone Age, and they're killing all these kids, it's not a good look to have taken these rights away from Scottish children. Yeah?
No. But as I say, the reason why this bill, this amended bill, was put in front of Parliament on Thursday and passed unanimously. Everybody voted for it.
Yep.
Everybody, even the Tories, passed unanimously.
Who the hell wouldn't want their kids to be looked after? My goodness me. It's like
Westminster doesn't want to look after our kids because they didn't want to consider their rights when right was. That's why it's an amended bill.
Yeah.
Because there had to be tightening up in areas to allow Westminster to override the rights of our children in writing legislation which applied to the whole of the UK, which is an absolutely outrageous idea in the first place.
Time to get rid of them. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
That's way past time to get rid of them. We don't need that. In Scotland, we can make all our own right decisions and make all the right decisions for our wains. We don't need somebody in Westminster to go, oh, well, that doesn't quite fit with this. Get stuffed. Fuck off.
Well, we're getting a wee bit better get stuff fuck off a wee bit further down the line, David. In fact, we'll be getting to it a couple of times. Now, this one, number 2, let's hit it. Starmer's welcome in Glasgow. We spoke about this on Thursday. He was coming up to Glasgow. We didn't think the protest would be big because of the weather. Boy, were we right.
Well, the picture I saw of him coming out of the Central Station, my goodness me, his face, he looked as if all the blood had drained out from his face.
Oh, yeah, he didn't expect to be challenged. That's just this idea that him, Bojo, and Sunak, they all have this idea that they are exceptional and we shouldn't challenge them. He was disgusting. I mean, I know you haven't seen the video footage of what happened, David. I've watched all the video footage. The guy that approached him on the train and calmly asked him how many children had to die. He wouldn't answer that, Bo. He wouldn't answer the question at all. Eventually, was shuffled out of the cab at the train section that Starmer was in by his bodyguards. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Duncan. Very, very generous of you both.
Thank you.
And then, of course, he arrives in Glasgow Central Station, gets off the train, and there's a big presence there, and people are approaching him, wanting answers, wanting to speak to him. No, rubber them. More or less ran through the station, bullying people out his way. Got out to his car at the pick-up point of Central Station, anybody that knows it, under that big veranda. Gets to his car there, and gets jostled into the car by his handler, his bodyguard, and then somebody has stopped the car to take off, to start pushing people out the road. Even there's a cop in front of the car, and the car bloody barges into the cop and all.
Yeah.
But and he also, when he got to the Crown Plaza Hotel, of course, he got hell outside. And during the event, they could hear in the inside the call of ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the event, he was pulled up short about his praising of Thatcher.
Do we have any idea of attendance at Crown Plaza?
No, I don't. Sorry, I never looked it up. Didn't think about it.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's like, I wonder how many of those previously who said Labour till I die, the Red Clydesiders and all the rest of it, right? I wonder how many of them now support
the Red Clydesiders are all outside. You'll hear them. Yeah, but I don't know. Probably business people would be in the inside, David.
You reckon? Right. Okay.
Anyway, he was challenged on his views about Thatcher, and what he said was, all I said was Thatcher was a prime minister that changed things. I never said she changed things for the good. So he's pointing to the audience. Now we know he's saying something different in England than what he's saying in Scotland. The guy obviously, this is another bit of his arrogance, David. He obviously thinks we're fucking stupid. Does he not realise we have an interconnected world, and we can see perfectly well what's happening in England, and England can see perfectly well what's happening here if you just take the turbo to look?
I think he is one of these people that relies on the fact that if he said it, people hear it, right? But then if he says something different the next week, the people will hear that and forget what they heard of him previously. You know, it is an arrogance. It is really well and truly an arrogance. But
it is arrogance, pure arrogance.
Yeah. I just hope the people of Scotland have got the idea or the knowledge to be able to go, yeah, the guy's a blooming phony. Let's just not forget voting for Labour at all, and Tory as well. And let's just put SNP in, get a massive majority for the SNP, and then we become independent. As simple as that.
Well, as I say, the thing about the footage was, I mean, this guy was totally aghast that anybody would approach him and ask him a question. Now, I mean, I'm no Labour supporter, as you know, but let's go back a couple of years to Corbyn sitting in the flurry of train because there wasn't any seats available in ordinary class, in general service.
Sure.
And he was slagged for that. But people were coming up to him, no security, no nothing, just having a chat with him. And here we've got Starmer, first class, totally affronted that a member of the public could be in first class, as if we couldn't afford that. And totally affronted that this person calmly asked him, how many children, Starmer, before you call for a ceasefire?
Yeah.
And then he was totally aghast and affronted. He must have thought he was universally loved when he was coming to Scotland. Because he was aghast and affronted when he got off at that train. Got off that train at Central Station. There was actually people there going to pull him up short for his behaviour. Does this guy not realise he's a public servant? That means he answers to the public.
Yep.
Of course, the public are going to approach him and demand answers.
His Majesty's opposition, official opposition.
Doesn't matter who he is. He's an MP. He's a public servant. He's answerable to the public.
What I'm saying is that carries an important level of whatever regarding
scrutiny is what he gets for being in such a high and lofty position.
Yeah.
Increased scrutiny is what he gets.
Yeah.
And this guy seems to take offence at being scrutinised at all.
So anyway, people of Scotland, if you're listening, don't bother giving Labour a single vote. Don't bother giving Tory a single vote. And more importantly, don't bother giving the Lib Dems a single vote, because the Lib Dems, you don't know who you're going to get.
Which takes us on to the next subject, David. Operation Blanchefort.
Blanchefort, yeah. Blanchefort, yeah.
Right.
Right.
The inquiry into the SNP's so-called dodgy finances, which haven't been dodgy at all. After 2 years and £15 million, they haven't done nothing. So what are they up to now?
Okay, well, it's the riddle of the new top-of-the-range car linked to Operation Blanchefort and the SNP. It's a Telegraph, it's the Tory graph, right? Basically saying that because Nicola and our man went out and bought himself a brand new top-of-the-line EV Jaguar. I wouldn't buy an EV car, people gave me the money, but they bought a top-of-the-line Jaguar electric vehicle, and the Telegraph have got the cheek to suggest that they don't have the money to do that, right? And in actual fact, they must have stole the money from somewhere. That when you read the article that's in the Telegraph, that's the smell you get from it, right? And yet again, it's another situation whereby they're trying to down the SNP and the Scottish Government any way they possibly can, because they know fine well there's a good chance we're going to be independent in a fairly short space of time.
Arthur, thanks very much for Super Chat funds for the next month. Merry Christmas to all. Remember, David's Xmas Day show live from 12 to 2 p.m. Hope New Year's going to be better for all of us. I can assure you at this point in time it's no Arsenal, but thanks very much.
Yeah.
But as I say, this story is actually linked to the last story, David.
Yes.
But you're right. I mean, Peter Mountmuro, when he ended at the end of his time as a CEO of the SNP, was on 120 grand a year. Nicola was on 120 grand a year for FM. Yeah. I mean, of course they can afford to go and order a new Jag, whether it be an EV or no.
Let me
finish this, David. I want to say the reason why this is linked to the previous story. Because Labour are failing in the polls here to get a grip. I mean, the latest polling shows the SNP probably going to land about 48 seats. Yeah. Labour's going to land 7, and the Lib Dems are going to land 2. The Tories are going to be wiped out, and the Alpha Party is going to be wiped out. That's what the latest polling shows.
Yeah.
And that's why the two stories are linked.
Yep. But the one other thing I was just going to say to add in is that the car that they purchased could be around £90,000. But if you go out and you buy a top-of-the-line Range Rover, you know, and somewhere between 75 and 85 grand. If you go out and you buy a top-of-the-line Tesla EV, they're 150 grand.
Tesla.
Yeah, but there you go. So they went out and they bought this top-of-the-line Jaguar electric vehicle, right? Good luck to them. But it's all put up as being a bit of a smell of, oh, this doesn't smell right. These people are buying things that are awfully expensive, and they're not supposed to be able to do that because they're Scottish and they're poor.
Hey, this is a good one for Harry. Harry says, no evidence, but plenty of investigation in Scotland. In England, plenty of evidence and no investigation. That's very true. Here there's the evidence of corruption, but investigation. Down the road there's plenty of evidence of corruption, no investigation.
There is something that I want you to be aware of, right? Ms. Fiona Bruce, who runs Question Time, will be getting up to her usual tricks as we get towards a general election, and she does ones in Scotland, right? And what they did in the past, if you will remember, is that she pointed to somebody in the audience, a ringer, right, in the audience, and that ringer in the audience said, what currency are they going to use? Just asking the question did the damage. Yes? So yeah, here we go. Yes. Well, they bought a new car, this blooming expensive car. What about that? Isn't that strange? Aren't they guilty because of that? What you've got to do is you've got to be aware of that, but you've got to tell other people that you, maybe in your family, business colleagues or work colleagues, just make sure you get the point out there that you're being gaslighted all the time. Okay, right, David, carry on, man.
I've just looked at the comment there. Urwally's bucket was asking about the electricity and gas prices in January. Aye, everybody's electricity up in January, and gas prices by 5%. Aye, so as I say, the branch form thing to the Telegraph. This is just sort of to paint the SNP as being black as black, and the hope that the Labour, believe it or not.
Yeah.
As you know, Starmer, he penned his pro-Thatcher speech in the Telegraph.
Yeah.
You know.
The idea at the moment is just to keep things going, keep things churning around. There might not be any investigation taking place, but what will happen is you'll have newspapers like the Daily Mail or the Telegraph or whatever that will write wee stories on it just to keep it in the public mind. That's all it is.
That's all it is, David. That is just keeping it at the forefront of people's mind to make them think the SNP are bent. But believe it, folks, 2 years in to an investigation, they haven't found anything, nobody's been charged, they're wasting bucket loads of public money. It's time somebody was pulled up short for this rubbish.
Right, well, something I'm going to do right now whilst I'm on the programme is I'll put that up as a reminder for what was said. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to move to the recycle bin because, in actual fact, the best thing we can possibly do is not share any posts like that because we're helping the Telegraph and the fucking Tories and the Unionists to do their job. Yeah?
Aye, but we're still going to report on it. Right. We don't have to share the information with an actual physical article.
Yes.
We have to talk about these things. And explain to people why these things keep rolling around in the news cycle.
Yeah.
You know. Right, the next one, David Cameron having a go at Humza Yousaf, would you?
Yes, well, here we go. Humza had a wee meeting with President Erdogan of Turkey, and which he was perfectly entitled to do, right? And you can imagine that would have been no, but it was about Gaza. It wasn't about Scottish independence. It was about Gaza, and it was about the medical aid that he gave to the people in Gaza. They took 27 people out that had transplants and brought them to Turkish hospitals so they could continue their treatment. Cancer patients, they pulled them out as well. And what they've been doing is they've got a hospital ship set up in Egypt, just south of Gaza, so that they can, if they get people out, they can manage to get them into a hospital ship and be used yet, because you can't get the people out, right?
Right.
But anyway, so here we have Humza having a bit of a chit chat with Erdogan, and what happens is that David Cameron decides, that's not on, right? Because that's in the policy document that we sent to the Scottish Government that says, you shall not speak with any foreign person without a member of the FCO being in attendance, right? Anyway, the letter was sent to Angus Robertson.
Aye, Emma was going to tell him, didn't you?
Yeah. And it's like, I really do hope he uses words containing the letter F and the letter O. All right, simple as that. Okay.
Right, that's exactly what Angus is going to tell him. And Humza's come out this morning and said, what a petty wee prat he is.
Yeah.
Huh? But you've got to think of the arrogance of these people once again. Apparently, if you're Scottish, you're not allowed to talk, a Scottish minister, you're not allowed to talk to a foreign minister without Westminster's say so. Westminster can go and fuck off. Wow, Alan. Wow.
Thanks, Al. Wonderful. Wow. Yes. It's going just to specify, it is going this time to baby banks, providing we get the money through in time, because these monies.
We'll extend it to baby banks this month and next month, because this money we won't get to next month, but it's been specific we've given for baby banks, so we will give it to baby banks next month as well. Okay.
Okay, right.
I think that's the fair way to do it, and then in February we'll go back to food banks.
Right. Quickly, back to David Cameron. What were you going to say?
An arrogant wee twat, and he's going to get put in his place. And a wee message saved to Westminster. You're not going to stop us talking to whoever we fucking like.
But what was David Cameron doing at the back of the hall whilst the COP26?
Or even making dodgy deals for fossil fuels.
Correct. Absolutely. So as far as taking any lessons from that fucking prat, no chance. Fuck off, Cameron. And here's
Angus right back doing it for you.
The bus when you get to fuck, and so you can get to fuck a wee bit more. All right, there you go.
Aye. But as I say, Angus will be dragged down in front of that committee again to get his knuckles up. Yeah. And Angus will just tell him what he told him last time. Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know? That's what he told them last time. That's what he'll tell them this time. But if I was the people of England looking up here, I would be very worried. Because if they're willing to oppress the Scottish people so, but maybe if we look around and see how they're oppressing yous. In fact, we're getting a light up here. We can just tell you to fuck off. Down there, you have your right to protest, curtailed.
Yeah.
You're protesting for the people of Gaza. You've been called terrorists.
Yeah. And also, you've had your your NHS is starting to look in a really bad condition, and that's because of the Health and Social Care Act 2012.
Police Crime and Sentences Act, this new Data Act, the Borders Act, it just went through. Yeah, the people of England are being oppressed and they don't realise it.
Some do.
Some of them.
But not enough of them. Not enough.
And apparently, branch forms has been running for 33 months and it's cost 1.5 million so far.
Yeah, it's cost 1.5 million to chase 600,000, and now what they're doing is they're adding 90,000 of a brand new car that the two of them have bought between them, and also there was the van. The
campaign camper van that they bought.
Right, and they kept that at his mother's. Why did they keep that at his mother's? Because, well, they didn't want the driveway taken up at their house, their nice house, and the mother had space in the driveway that she didn't use. So therefore,
they couldn't park at HQ in Edinburgh. They wouldn't know where to park it.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like we've got people at the Telegraph and all the rest of it trying to create a smell all the time, and it's like we need to tell other people in Scotland that that's what they're doing. They're trying to create a smell to make the SNP look bad.
Anyway, back to David Cameron. Anyway, the other thing the First Minister says to him is, I'll take Nation Ash for an unelected Lord. I thought that was pretty cool. I'll take Nation Ash for an unelected Lord.
Yeah, the conversation between Humza and would have been rather interesting because of what the Turks have done to help the people of Gaza. You know, there was even, I don't know whether it's true or not, but there was a situation whereby they managed to get people into Gaza.
That's right.
And Erdogan said, if any of these ends up losing their life, then that will be a declaration of war. On Turkey, you know, so.
Yep.
Anyway, so enough of that. I mean, that's something that I think we'll put on a watching brief and see what the fallout is over. There will be fallout.
Aye, this is going to get dragged back down there in front of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Yeah.
To be strictly told. Oh, they also threatened to take away access to embassy and embassy staff, and they shut down Scotland's any Scottish representation in UK embassies worldwide, and stop them using the FSC.
We already have our own buildings abroad that we can use for these kind of activities. We can have a Scottish Day, Scottish Whisky Day, whatever we want. That's what the embassies did. That was their traditional work fair.
Aye, but they were charging too much. That's why it was cheaper to set up our own offices.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we pay for it.
Yeah.
If he threatens to take away access to things that we pay for as part of this union, then there's going to be a issue of funding because we're not paying for it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
They also, the rebuke also says that the UK's voice must be seen as one on the international stage. Since when? The UK is a composite part It was pointed out by Political X on the Sunday Roast 2 weeks ago. The UK is a union, it's not a country.
Yes, that's right.
So it doesn't have to speak with one voice. If the Welsh Parliament and the Scottish Parliament think what Israel's doing is outrageous and there should be a ceasefire, which both do, that makes the Westminster Parliament an outlier, because the English people, along with the Scottish people and the Welsh people, think that what's happening, and probably the Northern Irish too, but we're not hearing from them at the moment, think what's happening in Gaza is a bloody international outrage. So it makes Westminster an outlier.
Anyway, whilst we're on about the law and what's allowed and all the rest of it, what do you think the Court of Session's ruling that Section 35 is in fact legal? Now we know it's legal because it's written in the Scotland Act, right? And I think basically that's what the Court of Session said. But it was over the GRR bill that we're talking.
Yeah, Gender Reform Recognition Bill.
Yeah.
Right, but basically what happened was the Scottish Government took this one to court here in Scotland to see if the Scottish Court agreed with Westminster. What Lady Haldane, who was sitting in judgment, had to say was that Section 35 does not in itself impact on the separation of powers or fundamental constitutional principles. Rather, it is part of the constitutional framework set up under the 1998 Scotland Act, so therefore it is legal. It's legal under the 1998 Scotland Act.
This morning I happened to switch on my car radio when I was doing a short journey and listened to BBC Radio Scotland, and it was Our Call K that you probably know of, right? And she had on this idiot. He was either a unionist or Alba. I couldn't quite figure out which, but he was calling the SNP all the bastards under the sun regarding the GRR thing that came out. And I'll give Kay her due. She actually defended the Scottish government, the Scottish Parliament. And she said, no, wait a minute, it wasn't just the SNP that voted on that. It was right across all the parties that are in the Parliament, right? And she pulled in this chap that was an expert on it. And he said that the very, very first vote was 86 for and 39 against. And of the abstentions, the notable one was Kay Forbes abstained, right? Obviously, should we freeze, but she would abstain. But at the end of the day, it's like, really, it was across the parties. And what Kay Adams was saying was actually dead right. He was saying, David, let me finish, right?
I thought you had. Sorry, David.
What the guy was saying was, he said, well, it's ridiculous, that our women folk should be put in danger with this. And Kay Adams was quite rightly saying that if a bloke gets dressed up in women's clothes and wanders into a woman's toilet, he doesn't need a bit of paper that certifies that he is a trans female, transgender, right? He can just go ahead and do it anyway. And what the chap said was, he said, we do get people doing stupid things like that. That's why we've got police, and that's why we've got a justice system.
It's just to beat the same argument.
Yeah, that's right.
But as I say, let's look again at what Lady Haldane said, right? She said Section 35 does not in of itself impact on the separation of powers or fundamental constitutional principles. I'm sorry, Lady Haldane. You see me if your fundamental constitutional principles mixed up. The majority of our parliamentarians represent the will of the people. The will of the people was that this bloody thing passes. Scottish constitutional tradition is the people are sovereign. So therefore this does impact on the separation of powers and constitutional principles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It also impacts on the rule of law, and it's about time this 1998 Scotland Act was ripped up, whether we're in the fucking union or no. It's time our politicians do what Iron Miles Angus is going to do when he gets pulled down that road, and that is tell them to fuck off. You'll no shut us up. We'll talk to who we want, where we want, when we want.
We've got two ways we can look at it.
Lady Haldane is no aware of the constitutional principles here in Scotland.
Yeah. we've got two ways we can go in this. Either we can tug our forelocks, go, oh, sorry about that, right, and all the rest of it, or we can just say, fuck off. And I really do hope we're getting to that point. We're getting to fuck off.
The argument, somebody's just asked, should whom's a draft now go into the inner sanctions of the Court of Sessions and appeal it? Appeal the decision away they held in. I would be getting in there and telling them, anybody who doesn't recognise that this Section 35, this particular Section 35, is in itself a problem when it comes to separation of powers and constitutional principles. Because the constitutional principle is here, the people are sovereign, and our MSPs, who we vote for, represent us, the sovereign people of Scotland. And if they decide this law should have went into law, there's nothing should stand this way. No judge, nothing.
Yeah. But I mean,
no Parliament, nothing.
But David, you look at Section 35, the bottle return scheme, where the situation whereby it wouldn't go through. The reason given was, oh, it includes glass. But the Welsh Government have already got such a thing that includes glass. So
yeah, but everybody, the Welsh Government was going to start their scheme at the same time as the English Government, but that time England was got its acting gear apparently. Which we know isn't true, because England isn't its acting gear in anything, ever. It's always playing bloody catch up.
Yep.
You know, I mean, let's face it, down that road, they're still paying for eye tests, dental, and prescriptions, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Talk about the dark ages.
Yeah.
And they look at us and call us poor. Wow. The people of England really need to grow up here and start stoning up for themselves. Really turning the whole up to them, their masters. We don't have masters here. The people are sovereign. You know, you don't see our First Minister surrounded with security guards.
That's right.
You don't see motorcades going down through the streets of London, keeping the people away from the politicians.
You don't see conferences whereby they've actually put up a steel fence round about to actually keep normal people away from them.
Well, actually, we did see that at the Tory Party conference in Glasgow a couple of years back. Sarah and I attended. They put barriers up to hold us behind the barrier.
Yeah.
But as I say, Lady Haldane and the rest of these fuckers along in our Supreme Court, the Court of Session, better get their acting gear. If they don't understand the constitutional principle here, then they're no fit for purpose. And she states quite clearly that Section 35 does not in itself impact on the separation of power or fundamental constitutional principles. It does.
It does, because the actual Scottish Parliament was set up to bring forth its own legislation. And now what we're getting is, time after time after time after time, Scottish legislation is getting whipped away. Something like that. And the excuse, Section 35, we can, so we're doing it. That's it. You know, Alistair Jack is not doing any more than that. He's just going, right, fine. It's Section 35.
Hi, Dylan. Don't worry about being late, son. There's no naughty steps. Santa's moved in for a wee while.
It's the 4th of January is when King Big Ears is going to put his monocle on it, right? So therefore, they have until the 4th of January to go ahead and do what they're going to do. I imagine that what's going to happen is that Alistair Jack is going to Section 35 it. Something like that.
But you can do some two in a mix up here. But aye. No, the GRR, who's just going to have to appeal it whether he likes it or not? But when he does appeal it, he's going to have to himself go into that Court of Session and make it clear. This is Scots law, and you're here to fundamentally carry out the will of the Scottish people, which is the laws that we write. Yeah. That's the fundamental constitutional principle here, which has been impinged on by Section 35. And for Lady Haldane to make such a statement, and I wrote it in word for word, is a bloody outrage. It's a bit like the Supreme Court when they said we weren't being oppressed, even though our democracy was being denied. What sort of fucking backward lawyers are these people?
Yeah. I agree. Right.
Let's move on to the house.
The big one this week is the Rwanda emergency legislation by Rishi Sunak.
Aye, where is Sunak? He's hiding again. Where is he? Oh, he's at the COVID inquiry.
He's at the COVID inquiry today. He's staying away from anything to do with this. But he's bringing forth his Rwanda emergency legislation, where, in his own words, he says, I respect the Supreme Court and the fact that Rwanda is not a safe place. However, with bringing forth this legislation, I can now say that Rwanda is a safe place. You couldn't make it up, could you? You just couldn't make it up.
Well, you could. We just talked about stupidness.
Yeah.
And misreading the rules to suit yourself. Because that's what Lady Haldane's done, and that's what Sunak's did.
Yeah.
He didn't like the rules, so he's rewriting them.
I was going to... Here we go. I'll just bring that up. There we go. Right. Rishi Sunak, in his press conference, let's just go through a few of the bullet phrases that he brought through. Was, my family came here legally, he says. But it so happens that you've closed down all the legal routes for people to actually come into the UK, right? Stop the boats, he says. And he says, I respect the Supreme Court's ruling that Rwanda is unsafe. And he said, because of the new legislation, the emergency legislation I'm going to bring through, Rwanda is now a safe country. He actually said that. He said that because of a bit of paper that he's going to bring through, Rwanda is now a safe country. Okay. The next thing he says, the courts are now overruled by the UK government. Now, do you realise that Israel did this 2 weeks ago? They overruled their own court system and said that the courts are overruled by the Israeli government. So we're getting the same from Westminster. And then the next one is the entire removal of all human rights legislation is taking place. So, get that. All your health and safety, everything to do with that, that's where your human rights, that's what's contained in your human rights, right? And then the next one is ECHR is now blocked. He said this last week. That was the 7th of December he said that, right? ECHR is now blocked. The European Court on Human Rights is now blocked.
Well, that brings us back to this piece of legislation that's going through the Parliament today and tomorrow. I don't know whether the vote's going to be tomorrow night or Wednesday morning. And the piece of legislation, although it's been a piece of nonsense, it has caused fractures in the Tory party. It might go pass. It could be the downfall of Rishi Sunak. But at the same time, within this legislation, David, as you've just pointed out, it gives the UK government the right to just disregard the European Court of Human Rights. Just disregard the rulings. And this particular piece of legislation has been designed to overrule the UK Supreme Court. This is serious stuff.
Yeah. But
and human rights are being stripped away at a rapid rate of knots.
You and I have talked about Preston in the past, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, see if they get away with overruling the Supreme Court. I figure that sets up precedent whereby things of this nature, therefore Scotland are not allowed to run a referendum.
Oh, who cares? Get the fuck off, we're going to have a referendum. I mean, if Sunak could be, so could be.
Yeah, exactly.
But this has to be pointed out to people. We have a rogue government, a rogue state, ignoring international law.
Correct. Absolutely.
And this idea of illegal migration, these people are asylum seekers, there's no legal. That's why none of them are being lifted. That's why none of them are being put in jail. That's why none of them are being tagged.
Yeah.
Because they haven't broken any laws. The term illegal immigration is being made up by your press and your politicians here.
Yeah.
These people are not illegal. If they were illegal, they'd all be arrested. They'd all be in the clink.
Yeah.
Not one of them are in the clink. In fact, where does it say it's illegal to claim asylum? No, even the illegal migration bill says it's illegal to claim asylum.
But nowhere.
See, you're getting gaslighted. Then you're being gaslighted big style here. You know, I've heard, we now have a minister for illegal immigration. What bloody illegal immigration? People are coming here to look seek asylum. But if there's anybody illegal amongst them, process them, we'll find out. And then we'll be able to deport the ones. But as far as I can see, 75 to 83% of those arriving here have a valid claim and will have their claim passed if they were processed.
But and then you've got the situation whereby somebody, either Sunak or Braverman, gave the final 100 million to Rwanda, and that now brings the total up to 295 million pounds to move 100 human beings from Britain to Rwanda.
Can you give them a million quid to boat themselves safe passage somewhere else?
You could easily. Of course you could. Yeah.
But
I believe that there's an awful lot going on regarding Rwanda, more than we're seeing, right? I'm not going to say what it is, but I've seen several things over the past few days that does yet again point towards Rishi Sunak and stuff that's maybe not entirely legal, right? So anyway, we'll see. The emergency legislation, it's going to be heard over the next 2 days, but I imagine that Rishi Sunak is just going to stay away from it because he knows fine well if he loses that vote, that's him. They're up for re-election again. As David said to me before the show, there's 40 letters in. How many letters do they require to get rid of the 56? So 16 more letters, which if he loses that vote over the Rwanda emergency legislation, it's like you could well get people just go, well, there's no point in that. But he has threatened, hasn't he? He's threatened back the way, saying if you don't back me on this, I'm going to call an election.
He said he'll call a general election and fuck the whole lot and vote.
Yeah.
So you get the right wing of his party saying they're going to vote this down, and he's fighting back saying if you vote down a call an election, you're losing your seat. And any influence you have, and any chance you're going to have of keeping your nose in the trough.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Sunak's not worried about losing an election, is he? He spent his time in office lining in his pocket, as you were just talking about Rwanda. No doubt a part of that Rwanda treaty, as we know, is an economic development package. You can bet your boots that Sunak's family and others in the Tory party's families have got their paws in Rwanda, and that economic development money will make it to them as opposed to the people of Rwanda.
Sunak won't even bother attending the gymnasium where the actual count will take place for the general election. He'll be away. In actual fact, I would imagine at that time he'll be in California in his house. Yeah.
Maryland lately.
Yeah.
Right, COVID inquiry. Johnson's 2 days. What did you make it?
It was. There was bits of it where I felt like picking up something, throwing it at the telly, and I thought, no, I don't want to smash my big 65-inch TV because I like that, right? But stuff he was saying, you listen to it and you go, how fucking dare you? You know, he was saying stuff that you would have, if somebody had no idea what they'd done, might say, oh, I didn't know I did that, right? He does know. He's a very clever chap. If people don't realise that, his clown act is an act. Yeah. So.
Well, anyway, during the inquiry, we got on to the devolution settlements, don't we? And Boris has asked about his relationship with Miss Sturgeon.
Yeah.
Now, as we've heard, other senior civil servants and even Michael Gove say that, you know, the reason why Gove was dealing with the administrations was because Boris didn't like Sturgeon. Well, anyway, Boris has come out and said, Boris Johnson tells inquiry he has no ill will towards Nicola Sturgeon. Boris Johnson is claiming that he had a friendly relationship with Nicola Sturgeon during the coronavirus pandemic. Oh, well, that might be true, David. You know why? Because she let him use the back door to get out her house. And
No. She took all the shelves out of a big Yankee fridge and said, there you are, Boris, and you go and hide in there for a bit.
Well, no mention big Yankee fridges that'll end up in Branchform.
How could you afford a big Yankee fridge?
Anyway, the ex-Prime Minister denied feelings of ill will, but made jibes against the SNP. Meaning he didn't make jibes against Nicola, he made them against the party. He previously said it was wrong to hold regular meetings with devolved leaders. Ms Sturgeon has said Mr Johnson's reign was characterised by chaos and a complete lack of integrity. Anyway, the former Prime Minister was asked about evidence given by senior aides who said there was tension between the Prime Minister and the First Minister of Scotland and that they didn't like each other very much. Lord Edward Lister suggested to the inquiry that there was a reluctance from Downing Street for the pair to hold meetings. Well, Mr Johnson said previously he preferred for Michael Gove to liaise with devolved leaders. Mr Johnson said, Miss Sturgeon, when I have spoken to her, we have gotten on very well and we had a friendly relationship. He was under questioning from Claire Mitchell KC, who was representing bereaved families for Scotland. He added, genuinely, my relationship with her has always been friendly and professional. So there you go. Nicola, apparently Bojo wasn't running scared of Nicola, he just thought that Michael Gove was better suited to deal with her. In other words, she wasn't important enough to be dealt with by him.
Yeah. This is your level of entitlement that comes across when you listen to people like Boris Johnson. They don't think they should be in that inquiry. They don't think, what are you asking me this for? Almost. Yeah? And in actual fact, it's like, just get your heads around that, guys. This is something that is run by the British establishment, for the British establishment. And to be honest with you, yet again, another board of inquiry, where in actual fact what it should be is a court of law, whereby if they do get found out on doing something wrong, they head to prison. It's as simple as that. We've got to stop having public inquiries. Every time something goes wrong, somebody shouts, oh, let's have a public inquiry. Somebody should turn around and slap their fucking face and say, shut up. We need a court of law to deal with this.
Aye. The next one is just for fun because it made me smile. Somerset Asset Management to close after losing $2 billion of investors' assets.
Yeah, I know. Jacob Rees-Mogg was doing that when he set that up, right? And the first amount that he pulled out of it was $7 million, I remember. So what do you reckon he's pocketed now?
I think it's so far, before this notification in the Telegraph, was about 15 million. But here's the interesting part of it, right? Somerset Asset Management, the $2 billion they've lost, it's not their money.
I know.
This was other investors' money, which they badly managed and managed to lose.
That's right.
So the basically stole £2 billion for people.
Rees-Mogg, you put your money behind this and I'll see you're okay, right? And that was the effect. That in effect was the situation. Jacob Rees-Mogg was saying, I'm part of the establishment. You back me and with your money, and I'll make sure you're all right. And it's like, look what's happened.
Aye, look what's happened. What's interesting about that is Moggy hasn't lost a penny.
Yeah.
It's the people who trusted Moggy to invest for them that have lost the $2 billion.
Yep.
So basically, they didn't realise that when they were giving his company money, they were getting asset strippers. Yeah. So they would have been investing in things where the money would have disappeared into their pockets.
Yep.
rather than presenting a return the way it should with a well-managed asset management company. Now, there's a lot of asset management companies about. You mentioned one earlier, BlackRock. We'll get Aberdeen and Scottish Widows that just recently merged to become the third biggest asset management company in the world. A wee Scottish company is the third biggest asset management company in the world. You know, unbelievable. Yeah. But Moggie's asset management company has managed to make an ass of managing assets. I knew it went belly up, and I just thought it was funny. You know? Because anybody that believed that Haunted Pencil was going to look after their interests are fucking idiot. Yeah. So all the multi-millionaires out there that have lost your brass, that's what you get for being stupid.
That's what you get for trusting Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Aye. Mental. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that would cheer people up. The next one's a zinger to you, David. I've kept this one up. This one
is definitely down to you to answer, 100%. The general says that the younger generation is too feared to go to war.
Oh, listen, I'll tell you exactly what he says. Okay, general who fought in conflicts from Balkans to Middle East hits out at anxious Gen Z Brits who are too worried to go to war. Exclusive. General Sir Richard Barron says Gen Z are putting off joining the forces, and the ex-commander's comments comes as the military faces recruitment crisis. Younger generation Z Brits are too worried to go to war and turning their back on a career in the armed forces, Sir Richard has warned. Anyway, what you say now, they're making a big deal of the fact this guy was in the conflicts with the Balkans, of course, to the Middle East. He says fear and anxiousness is why 18 to 26-year-olds are being put off the rigours of military service. And he also says that Disney sit comfortably with their woke beliefs. Well, you know something, Sir General Richard Barron. Well done, kids. Stay the fuck away from it. It's corporate wars now. That's all it is. If you want to know why the people of Gaza are being massacred, oil and gas.
Yeah, and also the fact that they have a younger generation that are conscripted automatically from leaving school or whatever, right?
I'm talking about the generation coming through that don't want to join the military. Well done.
No, but the point I'm making is that if this general manages to get the word out enough into a Tory government, they'll end up doing the same. Where it's like
let me go to quote something the general says, okay? Because this is where the general's rang and the kids are right. We hear this.
I agree with the kids. Don't worry about it. But
this is him explaining what the forces exist to do. And it's no defence, believe me. We all thought we were joining up to defend our nation. Scotland, in my case, England, in the case of my brothers in England. Right. But guess what this general says? The forces exist to either threaten or apply the use of force. That's to kill people or destroy things. That doesn't sit comfortably with the zeitgeist of that particular demographic, meaning the 18 to 24-year-olds. This general is a nut job.
What?
The whole reason of setting up a military is to protect your people. It's a defensive thing. Yeah. It's not meant to be an aggressive thing. This general's heat is wired up the wrong way. Yeah. And that's why young people are not joining the military. Because the military no longer exists to protect the people on these islands. It exists to invade and steal the assets of people elsewhere in this world, while slaughtering them in the process. And the reason why kids don't want to join the army is exactly why this general is right.
Well,
that was the perspective put in front of me to join the army, to go across the world, smash, destroy, and steal.
Just a further wee point, mate, right? The previous Secretary of Defence, forget his name. He was actually a soldier at one point. Forget what he was called. Anyway,
he was quite a decent bloke, actually.
Yeah, but he actually was filmed in a room with several colonels or generals or whatever, and he said, well, we'll take on the blooming Ruskies and we'll win, right? And it's like, I have to say, what a stupid thing for anybody to say. Was he drunk?
But this believe it or not, a general actually describing the forces existing to either threaten or apply the use of force. That's not what the force exists for. The force exists to protect us. Not protect the interests of the rich and the famous.
Yeah.
To protect us. Now, him to describe the army as existing to threaten and kill on order. Shine. The army, the navy, the air force existing for defensive purposes. But we can see the way it's getting twisted. And to have a general come away and say that it exists to threaten or apply force to kill people, to destroy things. You're right, it doesn't sit comfortable. It doesn't sit comfortable with me and I'm an ex-fucking soldier.
Right, okay.
I put my boot right up his arse. That's not what it exists for. The military exists to protect our people.
So why don't we
from
change
external threats? It does not exist to gallivant across the world, murdering, destroying, and stealing bloody assets. And that's what it's doing.
Right.
And that's why kids don't want to join.
So why don't we change the name of the department to the Ministry of Attack?
That's what it should be, the Ministry of Attack. If that's all that general thinks the military exists for, if that's what that general thinks the military exists for, then it should be called the Ministry for Attack. And the reason I'm so proud of your young people is because if that had been the prospectus put in front of me or any of my fellow veterans, that that's what we were joining up to do, rather than defend, we were joining up to attack, then we wouldn't have joined. And I'm glad that Gen Z, whatever the hell they're calling them, can actually see that this particular military setup isn't set up for defence.
So what happens if the Tories get back in, right? And they decide, oh, it doesn't matter which Tory party gets back in, right? And they decide we're going to have military service for certain ages and all the rest of it, right? And they do the same as the Israeli government do, whereby they've got to spend so many days in prison for not doing the military service. What do you think is going to happen there?
Sorry, David, say that again. Mark Telford's comment put me off. Please.
What I was saying was, if the British government bring forth military service of a certain age, right? And if you don't do that military service, they do the same as the Israeli government do. And actually say to you, you've got to go in prison for so many days, right? And that's what they do. I've seen a lot of comments about that, whereby the kids, if they don't do their military service in Israel, they go into prison. They spend so many days in prison.
But Mark, I'm going to bring Mark's point up on this one because that's why I was a little bit distracted, right? Right, the Tories have budgeted away our armed forces and security. Well, listen, if that is the line of thought in the Council of Generals, that they have built an army for attacking and destroying and stealing other people's assets, then thank fuck they've stripped the military budget and it's so small, and the UK military is so small now. Because otherwise, the UK could be a fucking real danger on the planet. Yeah. Because as I say, that general needs a boot right up his arse. And I say, congratulations, children. And by the way, after hearing this story, folks, make sure when your grandkids or your kids tell you they're joining the military, you say, no, you fucking don't. And explain to them why. Because they're not joining to defend. They're joining to attack and kill according to this guy.
Okay, talking about attacking and killing, final item is Gaza, Al-Mawazi, a bit of beach in the middle of nowhere, just a bit of beach where there's nothing. What's your thoughts on that, David? The people are being told that that's safe. That area.
There's nothing there Israel wants.
Yeah, you set up your wee bit tent and all the rest of it, right? But there's no water, there's no food, there's no medical, there's no anything for these people. And what's happening is, because that is one of the few safe places, coming in hour by hour, day by day, and the place is becoming overloaded. So what's going on? You tell me, as a soldier, looking at it with a soldier's mind, what do you think these bastards are up to?
They're queering the Gaza Strip.
Aye.
I mean, they're never backed out Gaza. They weren't happy with going the north. They want it all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So what are they going to do with these people that are on this beach?
Look,
you could be talking about 1 million people on this bit of beach.
Let them die. They throw us no food, no water, no nothing. I'm just going to let them die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't realise by now there's a genocide underway. There's a muppet.
And America, yet again, on Friday, vetoed a ceasefire.
They did.
So, and Genocide Joe obviously gave the order to the UN delegate to actually put his hand up to veto that.
13-4, one abstention.
Yeah.
One objected.
Yeah.
US had already pointed out objected. Who abstained, David?
It was America. Oh, sorry, UK abstained.
Aye.
And the reason they gave for abstaining was that the actual thing that came through to vote on didn't say enough about the Hamas attack on the 7th of October.
Yeah,
I know, it's dreadful. It really is, honestly. It's unbelievable. The good thing is, and here's the good thing about it all, right, is that these bastards, the International Criminal Court, are setting everything up, and their tickets fucking booked. And what I enjoy seeing is people all around the world, protesting and saying, in our millions and in our billions, we are all Palestinians. There you go. Simple as that.
But if I ever expect that I know just on John, he'll agree with me on the general thing. And I see John didn't know. Anyway, international pressure is growing as long established a boycott Israel group is really taking on and taking strength. And the clever young boffins these days have come up with an app. And that app will let you read a barcode and it'll tell you if the company you're buying from has made the product in Israel or is associated with a product being brought from Israel to complete the product production. So now, as you know, David, it's whacking some really big businesses.
You've got to look at the biggest of them all, which is BlackRock, and they are now backing off from a lot of these different products and companies, corporations, and all the rest of it, right? And they'll be reducing their, how much they are affected by it, right?
Aye, they'll be throwing off liability.
Yeah.
I mean, an example, we're talking about specific examples. Coca-Cola sales have collapsed in the Middle East.
Right. If you consider that a politician actually is a brand, right? And you look at, say, America, for example, you have Biden and Anthony Blinken and Nancy Pelosi and all the rest of it, right? All these are brands, and these people have received a lot of money from the American Israeli lobby, right?
We know that.
No, I've got a point to make on this, right? If they continue on that, they're now in a situation whereby they've got to consider whether a career in politics is worth more to them than it is gaining a few £100,000 or a few $100,000 from the American lobby or the Israeli lobby. And also, the fact of the matter is that they're going to go down in history as having aided and abetted in war crimes.
Fuck, David, they're lining their pockets with it. I can't put the app in the comments because what do I know about apps? I know about apps you can write in the back of their bloody thing. That's why I said the clever young boffins boycott Israel have come up with an app. Because apps.
Look out.
But as I say, international protest is growing. It's no diminishing. You know, this one doesn't seem to have fad that's burnt out after a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
And
well,
huge companies, Starbucks, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and associates like Nestle and things like that, they're all suffering bad here as people discover where they're getting their products made to complete or their ingredients to make products. And this clever app. But the main thing about it is that people pressure will work if we get we're at again. We've seen this in
it is working. It is working. That's what we've got to point out is, believe it or not, what you are doing is working. Yeah. These politicians are now under extreme pressure. Mr. Starmer, for example, right? You look at that and look at his face. Any pictures you saw of his face, he was frightened, quite rightly too. You know,
yeah.
what a blooming
Sorry, David, don't you go?
Yeah, sorry. It's just we need to consider that at the moment the mainstream media are relying on the fact that if they don't put it up, you go looking at Sky or BBC or ITV, how many stories have they got regarding Gaza and the genocide that's taking place? It's all fallen away, and they're hoping by that form of propaganda where they ignore an international story like that we'll forget. Don't forget. Don't allow yourself to be lulled into thinking there's nothing happening. There are.
No, but you know what, David? Don't allow yourself to be lulled into thinking there's nothing you can do.
Yes, that's right.
Because one thing we've learned about campaigns that we've worked on is consumers have a lot of power.
Yes.
And they can bring an awful lot of power to bear. I mean, if we look at the campaign to get people in Scotland to stop buying their TV licence, it's now got Scottish, it's now got it's now got BBC Scotland's budget reduced.
Yeah.
They've got less than influence. Their audience size is tiny.
Yeah.
You know, and we've seen other product boycotts really make companies think about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Now that could be extended to making countries think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's don't think as a consumer you don't have power, folks. You do.
Yeah, at the moment we've got Israel are bleeding at $250 million per week. Now Biden's looking to get the okay of the American government to send more money to Israel. In actual fact, he's already done it, and I don't think he's going to get the okay of the American government to send more money, because a lot of these American politicians are going, wait a minute, it's getting a bit noisy for my liking, right? So he's not going to get the okay, and we've got Israel that are bleeding at $250 million a week, and well, their unemployment.
Let's make them bleed more.
Yeah, their unemployment is doubled. Yeah, so you've got to figure on that one, and you know, it just takes a bit of pain before these people in the Israeli government end up getting shown the door.
Ian's telling us that our subtitles are being generated before we spoke the sentence.
Yes.
And what you'll find is it's a lag, Ian.
Yeah.
But to say consumers have a huge amount of power.
Yeah.
And if we're having an impact on the Israeli economy, eventually the Israeli people are going to turn around and say, no, that's enough. We're suffering along with the Palestinian people here, except that they're no bleeding to death.
Anyway, look, we've said enough. David, we've now nearly gone a quarter of an hour over our time. Right?
I know what happens there again.
So, no, very, very good at the end. It's important to get across this thing of where the worldwide protest is working. People joining together around the world is working. And the countries that are doing this to the people of Gaza, they're being seen as what they are. They are war criminals. No other way to put it. The best name I've heard for Joe Biden is Genocide Joe. Right, with that, I'm going to say, if you haven't subscribed to us...
Wait a minute, David, there's a bit of breaking news. Apparently, everyone's watching the ticker tape on our telly, and the European Research Group have asked Rishi Sunak to build the Rwanda bill. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, okay. If you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe to us. It helps us do more with the channel. Also, it helps generate more income that we can put to food banks, wherever, right? If you like what we do, please give us a like, thumbs up, right? And we'll see you again on Thursday. Hopefully I'll be which nowadays
I want to thank the other YouTubers that were on the day. Check out Reagan Elite's wee channel, it's a cracker. And the usual ones, guys, that you all follow on YouTube along with myself. Alright, now, thanks for all your whoppingly kind contributions again today. So we're working to get it out. By Thursday we should have an update and it should be out. This month should be gone. And we're starting on next month. Okay.
Anyway, that leaves me to say, bye, Davey. Bye, guys.
Bye, Davey.